Everybody, this is yes, Coach Lisa. And I am so excited. I know I say that. I say that a lot. But I have the opportunity to interview some of the most important people, people that are doing and have done some incredible work in this world. And I'm about people that live a mission and do things that really have an impact on others. And today, my guest is none other than Homer Gibbons. You are going to hear so much about his past. Of course, I'm posting about who he is, so you can read more of the bio. But I like to just get into the meat of my interviews, as you guys know. So I'm just going to start off. I mean, Homer, can you tell us just if you could sum up in a couple of sentences, like your main passion, your love, and what you've lived, let's say the first part of your career.
Um, with boxing, I just lived a life that was crazy. I mean, to think that I got to be friends with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman, these guys, and they consider me to be a friend is just amazing. I started as a little kid, 6 years old, and then all of a sudden as a young man, getting to meet and be friends with guys that I watched on TV was crazy.
I have to say, I love the way that the world works and life works sometimes. For people that haven't read everything, but I'm going to invite you to go back to his pages and read it. And this is a gentleman who's been a world champion boxer, an artist, a speaker, husband, father, entrepreneur. Um, which version of yourself taught you the most about who you are really?
And that's a good question. Each side of me has taught me so much about who I am. I don't think that I fit in just one category. As an artist, people who see me as an artist would never think that I could be a boxer, because I was just very passionate about art. When I graduated high school, they knew I boxed, but I got voted most talented, and they were like, "What? All he does is box, or all he does is do drama." But I have a passion to just be entertain people, whether it's with my hands, creating artwork, whether it's getting in the ring and boxing. I wanted to entertain people, and I wanted people to feel like they were a part of my journey.
It's interesting because a lot of times, and you just really touched on something, people sometimes want to put you in one box. Did that ever impact you in some way, like limit you when, let's say, even moving from boxing to artistry to taking the stage and speaking, the boxes that people tried to put you in? Did you have any instances of when that happened for you?
Well, people they try to figure me out, and I'm weird. I mean, they had to be an artist and create with your hands, and to paint. And I'm a colorblind artist. Like I don't see all the colors the way everybody else does. So there's certain things I've done, and my wife's like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Why did you use that color?" I'm like, "It's just black and white." And she goes, "No, it's purple. It's purple all day long." So yeah, I think that we all are gifted with little avenues in our lives where we kind of veer here, veer there, and when we do that, it helps make us a better person if we allow it to. Now we can use anything, the negativities of things, and turn it against ourselves and beat ourselves up about stuff, or you can turn around and use it as a positive. That's what I think I've tried to do all my life, is try to make everything positive. Everything I've been through there's a reason for why I went through it.
I love that you brought that up because, sometimes people look and see, wow, this guy has done so much. Like everything that he's done, probably everything he's touched has been magic. And so they can't imagine that maybe sometimes there have been moments where you had setbacks and there have been moments of an unexpected detour or Can you just speak to some of the detours, some of the setbacks that you had, and then how did you get past them?
You know, in 1995, I fought Camacho on TV, a legend in the sport. Went the distance. A lot of people felt I beat him. I felt I beat him. The next thing you know, my next fight was fighting for a title against Jake Rodriguez, and I was having so much problems in the gym preparing for the fight. And I go through the fight, and they discover I'm missing a bone in my neck, the odontoid process. And it's kind of, it's the second vertebrae of your neck. So it's kind of critical. And to know that I was going into the ring with that, the doctors forced me to quit. They forced my retirement. Well, I started going through a divorce. I needed something to do with all that anger that I had. I was like, they can't tell me I can't fight. I'm gonna fight again. And then in 1998, I got recommissioned to fight. He fought all the way up to 2007, won my second world title in 2006. So, uh, adversity, I mean, just because you don't achieve what you wanted to achieve, that doesn't mean that you don't go out there and try it. I mean, who's to say what could happen? But at the same time, you got to be, if a kid comes to my gym and they find out he's missing a bone in his neck, I'm gonna tell him it's not the smart thing to do.
Well, I can just only imagine how you really were of the you can't tell me at that moment in time, but you had a whole lifetime of wisdom and experiences that you were bringing into that decision. How was it though? Was it sweeter the second time around? I mean, people kind of say, when you're coming past an adversity and then you get a title, did it ring that way to you, or did each one just mean different?
Well, as soon as I won the title in 2006, before I got out of the ring, my belt had already been stripped. So it wasn't as glorious as people think. There's a lot of politics in boxing, and it's just corrupt. But, I mean, I just smiled, try my best to be a light to people that are watching. And I always brought young men with me to the boxing so that they could see how I respond, how I act. So I wanted to be a somebody that led them in the right direction. Can't say it's always been the way, but I've tried that for the last, Lord, 20, 30 years, just being a positive example.
So you're telling me that you're not perfect. So
I'm not perfect. If I had my kids on here, they'd tell you, oh, he's not perfect at all.
welcome to the human race, all right? Um, so it's really interesting because, some people can have some of the just just the amazing accomplishments that you've had. And you talked about some of them. You could really spend a lot of time in any of the categories I mentioned. We are going to talk about some of the things out the ring, but um, to get to those levels. And then when you retire, you've heard about it. You probably could give some mention to some people that once the one thing that they work so hard to do comes to an end, they have a hard time finding the next. Was there moments for you that it was like, oh my goodness, so I'm not boxing. What do I do? Who am I? And if it was like, how did you make it through that?
There was a brief time where I kind of just was hurt, especially the first time they ended my career in '95, because I was on the rise. I was going up the rankings and number 10 in the world and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it's gone. I mean, like overnight it's gone. And then next thing you know, I'm going through a divorce. Um, and you think that it is dark. You say it can't get any worse. Well, it can. It can get worse. But at the same time, it's going to get better. You just got to hold on, you know, and you keep fighting through, knowing that, every day you're going to get better. You're going to have setbacks. That's what people, I think, a lot of times people don't understand is that you're going to have setbacks. You know, maybe I'm thriving. Then all of a sudden I wake up one day and I don't want to thrive today. I just want to have a pity party, and have a pity party. Get your butt up the next day and let's get back to doing what we got to do. You've got to make it happen. And that's what I try to do.
You know, I love the idea that, because we're not perfect human beings, sometimes you have to give way to a moment of emotion, a moment of, as you said, pity party. But to recognize you can't stay there. So, it's really kind of leads me into a thought I had. So there was a time I think in the early you had like was it like 200 amateur wins, and there you were on the coming uppins, side of the coin in a massive way. Looking at yourself now and looking at you then, what if you had a chance just to talk to that version of you at that time? What advice do you think you would give that younger version of you?
It depends on before I started boxing as a professional, I would have said, "Hey, let's focus on the artwork. Let's not put your body through anymore because you don't really understand what you're doing to your body." Now I'm 56. I'm like, oh, I might have should have listened. But when I was in my 20s, there was no way. But at the same time, I'm not. I don't have any regrets because I'm where I am and I'm who I am today because of what I went through. If you take any of that away, I wouldn't be who I am. And I like who I am. I like where I'm at. So you just got to roll with the punches and keep fighting.
It kind of speaks to something you said before, is that even your darkest moments, your setbacks are a part of your story. So all of it, has you to be where you stand right now, which is, can you just give voice to some of the things that you love to work on? Because you're still with your art. You have a beautiful family, by the way, which I have seen pictures and I will post those as I do when this video comes out. I'll post a couple of pictures you shared with me. But where's your heart now? What is it that you really love to focus on? What is it that you want to bring?
I love, I invest my time with kids. I work a full-time job, but at the same time, I go to the gym or with kids, teaching them boxing, just being their friend. I also work with people who have Parkinson's and, just working on their mobility to try to regain some of that back and, you know, impacting people's lives. It is best I can. Um, some people need me to be an ear just to listen. Some people need me to be somebody that, comes and cuts your grass. It's just being involved in people's lives. They don't know that you care.
I can't tell you how powerful that is, because one of the things I think that science is really caught up with is that we need one another. That, we've gone through a period of saying, oh, self-care, but it really is a kind of a co-care, that you have another person that is looking and caring for you as that you care for them as well. Um, so it's interesting because it sounds like you're working all different age ranges, because Parkinson's is one generation and then the children are another. How do you find working with those very, very different demographics? And is there a kind of a passion or where your love is most these days in the work that you do?
My passion is people. The world gives us so many things to break us down. They wanted to divide us on age. They want to divide us on color. They want to divide us on everything. But we have more in common than we have apart. So focus on the positives. I mean, just like in marriage, if I focus on the negative things my wife does, I want out tomorrow. But I focus on the positive things, you know, the things that, make me want to stay, that make me want to get up and go to work and keep her home with the kids, those kind of things. And that's what we need. The Bible says, on the good things, think on the good things. And that's what we need to do.
So are you very connected in with your church or is your family? How is that, how does that play into your life now? And maybe your life as, even a young boy until now.
Well, as a kid, my mom worked hard, and she just needed some peace and quiet on Sunday for a few hours. So she's like, the church bus comes through the neighborhood, you get on it. And that opened the doorway for God to start pricking my heart. And then like I say, going through everything I went through, and I met my wife 25 years ago, and we've been together for 25 years, been married 24, or about to be 24, and just man, I can't imagine my life any other way. But you know, God's working on me still. There's a lot to work on. I'm stubborn as all get out. I'm gonna do things my way, and sometimes God's got to smack me around a little bit and go, yeah, I want it done my way.
Think that's you don't stand alone in that. So you have a lot of company in that. Um, is there something that you're really looking forward to? Is there something that, I don't know, a program, a piece of your passion that you've yet to really tap fully? When you dream for the future, what are some of the things you think of?
I just shot a small, low budget film with Eric Roberts, and it was fun doing stuff like that. I love using that side of my repertoire as well, doing the acting. I love doing the artwork. I love working with boxing, being in people's lives and helping people make changes. The kids bring me their report card, because like I tell them all the time, it doesn't matter if you know how to box. If you don't know how to read, we got a problem. We got to work on that. So I want to make sure that I'm investing in them and making them better. And my children as well. I want to make sure that my children are doing the right things. And who knows? I mean, it takes a community to raise a child, and it really does.
Love that. And I think I love the fact that you pour in, yeah, you talk about family, but then you're talking about community, which is like an extended version of our families. Um, is there, I was interviewing someone recently and we were talking about the idea of legacy, what we leave behind. Do you give thought to that? And if you do, how do you see your legacy? What do you hope your legacy will be?
My children are my legacy. You know, they are going to carry on what I've given them, and there's nothing that I mean, the titles that I won, one day they'll be just dust in a box, or so those things, although they meant a lot to me at one time, they're going to go away. They're going to fade away. Why you invest in somebody's life and change someone's life in their direction or their path where they were going? If you can do that, man, you have just changed someone's world. And that's what I want to do with my life. I want my life to touch others.
That's beyond powerful. Sometimes people have a word or two words that best describe their heart, who they are. Are there any words that, if I hear that word, I kind of think of you? Do you have any words that come to heart, come to mind?
I hope to always be thought of as a warrior, but the funny thing is, if you watch the videos of my fights, a lot of times they always say, he's such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. And I feel like, hey, I'm a nice guy until you get me in the ring, and then I'm not nice anymore.
Yes, I don't even know if there is a better way to conclude our time together. I would say that I can see the warrior that has been the person who has had the resilience to make the transformations in your life that you've been able to do over and over again. And that just stands as a testament and a lesson left behind that many people will benefit from. I want to personally thank you for coming in to the blogcast, sharing a little piece of you. I just would love to invite you back when you have, maybe you want to do an art show and bring in all your art next time, or if you want to talk about something specific, but please mine. I'd love to have you back and just share another piece of your life. You definitely have made a major impact on the world, and I think you're going to just continue to do so. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. God bless you.